Hey now, and welcome to the Help Find the Others podcast. This is episode 22. If you've been here all along, well then welcome back. And if this is your first time listening to us, well then welcome. We don't have a guest for tonight, but Stan and I wanted to hop on and do an episode with just the two of us. We've both had some vacations and been traveling a little bit for the summer and haven't been around, so wanted to just kind of catch up. How you doing there, Stan?
Good, man. Excited and ready to kind of dive into what we've been doing.
Yeah,
for the past couple of weeks.
Yeah, for sure. And it's it's funny. Like we had our episode back in the winter talking about how everyone kind of falls in and out of contact just from being outside and or being inside and depressed and cold and everything, but then the same thing happens in the summer when everyone's gone and on different trips or having cookouts or whatever. So it's been a little bit, but you had texted me about a dream you had, so why don't we start our conversation talking about that dream?
Yeah. Are you into dreams at all? Like deeper meanings or lucid dreaming, or do you dream?
I mean, yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, as much as I like pondering our consciousness with psychedelics and stuff like that, I mean, sleep is another state of consciousness that is just as intriguing, honestly,
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think I just recently came to the conclusion after this dream that I'm not sure if there's like a deeper meaning behind them, but it's cool to experience. Like it's just another altered experience, really, and like makes you question the reality of this like consensus, this consensus world.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so dude, it was wild. Like it was wild. This is like my first time kind of gathering my thoughts on it and like telling it. So it might be a little choppy, but bear with me. I took notes right after I woke up, so I'm just going off of that.
That's a good idea.
But yeah, so it started with a get together with friends from high school that I had fallen out with, like a group of friends that I had been friends with since grade school and played sports with and like hung out with outside of school, did that all the way through high school. And then once college hit, we kind of had a falling out, not even just a falling out, just, the standard, you're going off to school in separate states type thing. So that's where it started out was, I was the age I am right now, but it was with them. And it was normally, if I was in that position, I'd be a bit uncomfortable because I hadn't seen him in so long, but for some reason there was no discomfort in the situation. And we were all just drinking, having a good time. And just like, yeah, I guess just having a good time. I don't know what got me thinking about this to even be put into this in a dream, but there I was. So we drank a good amount to the point that I browned out. And I browned out right when we were leaving the venue we were at. So I said goodbye to everybody. It was an awesome night. And, right when I was leaving, my friend stopped me and he said, let's take this one more shot. So took the shot. I browned out. So I don't remember anything on the travel from that venue, that bar that we were at, back to the home I was headed to. But when I got to the home, there was another party going on. And it was a party thrown by my girlfriend, who it's not a common thing. So I was like, what the hell is going on? Like at that point, it almost felt like I dreamt the first part and now I was in a different part, but they were still somewhat connected. So I go find her and I'm just like, what's going on? Like what, like she was in my house that I was raised in. So it was my parents' house. And I was like, what is going on? Like, why are you having a party? Like, this is crazy. So end up browning back out. And that was just like a weird blip in the whole dream world that I experienced that night. Hopefully you're still following along. But then, you know how dreams are, where it's just different place, different. Yeah. Then I ended up in like an auditorium. It was the next day. I could tell it was the next day. It wasn't like hungover or anything, but there was an auditorium that I was in, and it was filled with everybody that I had met in my life, like everyone that had been something in my life. And so it was rows and rows of like, I would say probably hundreds of people, probably like 500, 600 people. And I'm sitting at this table and it's like all my good buddies from high school and close ones. And they were just like talking shit about me getting too fucked up the night before. And I'm talking shit back to them. And it was just like how it would have been, you know, it was totally normal. Nothing. I wasn't questioning anything. But eventually one of them turned to me and asked me like, hey, so do you really want to know what happened last night? And I said, yeah, of course. Like I all I thought was I took an Uber back and my girlfriend was partying and then I went to sleep, you know? And they said, all right, follow me. So I'm going through and like weaving in and out of tables of all these people that I'm like recognizing every face. And there were some people, like I said, that I would be uncomfortable with in the moment. If I saw them in this world, in this reality, and I was just going in and out of these tables filled with these people. And we got to the head table at the front of the auditorium. And it was so strange. I was sitting at a table with like two good friends of mine from high school, and the rest were like somewhat like Secret Service people. And they just, it was so strange. They basically told me that since I got too messed up the night before, that I was headed to rehab. And I don't know. So anyways, that's all, doesn't really matter. So it ends up being this really big joke. Everyone's laughing about it. And then everything clears. And I'm trying to think how I can tie this into the dream, but really it was just a jump in the scenario where two doors opened up. And it's me, my girlfriend, and my mom. And we're all just sitting at this table, or I'm sitting there, they're both standing next to me. And like these two doors open up, and it's basically what my mind, without having the experience, would perceive as an ayahuasca trip. Huh. Like I've read about them, and it's what I've imagined while reading them. Mm-hmm. And it was occurring right in front of me. And I don't even know how it happened, but like, I think I've read Terrence McKenna's accounts on the situation of soaring above, or I don't know whose accounts it was, if it was him or Lily's or one of the philosophers about this, and flying above like grounds that you've been at before. And you can kind of like direct your own ayahuasca trip in that scenario. And like, when I've read those materials, I've imagined what I experienced in the dream. So it was very strange, but it was so cool. And like, yeah, that's why I woke up, wrote it all down, and texted you immediately.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, that's, you know, I know people that keep like dream journals and stuff like that, because I mean, it's the same thing, like, you know, with psychedelic epiphanies and stuff like that. It goes away, you know? And so, yeah. And what's weird is writing it down right away, like kind of locks it in your memory as like, this is something to remember, you know? And even if it's not writing it down, if it is texting it to someone, or, you know, I've had some crazy dreams that I've posted like on the Discord channel, you know, like just getting it out right away, like makes it real and part of this world almost, you know? And, yeah. But if you just wake up and you're like, well, that was crazy, well, then it just goes away almost, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I like, after just digesting it more and thinking about it more, there's been changes that have occurred since then, like an integration type experience, which is the really crazy part to me that I've been realizing. And when the whole rehab thing, when I was sitting at that table and they were like dead serious to me, and they were like, you got to go to rehab. And they were handing me like these phony business cards, and I could tell that they were phony business cards, and I could hear people like snickering. And I just thought to myself, wait, is this a joke? It felt to me like the cosmic joke, like the cosmic giggle that psychedelic researchers will sometimes talk about.
Yeah.
Yeah, it felt like that. So before the dream, I had been dealing with like not intrusive anxiety, but sometimes getting lost in my own thoughts. And from that dream, after looking at the rehab thing and hearing everybody laugh, I woke up and I was like, whoa, all this stuff that I've been thinking about, that I've been getting lost into and worried about, is just a joke, And ever since then, I've taken measures to really step outside my head, which is a major step for me. And I have to attribute some of it to that dream, which is the craziest part.
Yeah.
So yeah, man.
No, I mean, dude, I think that dreams, even when they don't make sense, like there is something in there. It's just like a trip, that like, even if a trip is bad or doesn't make sense, like there was still a lesson in there, and whether it's an outside force or your brain trying to tell you something, or your subconscious, I think there's something to dreams, and it ties into psychedelics too, with like, look how, serotonin is such an important part of the psychedelic experience, and it's a part of the, the dream and sleep cycle. And I think there's something to that. Like,
no, absolutely.
I mean, and it's the great question. We'll never know about psychedelics or the dream state, but I think they're tied into the same energy and plane of existence almost.
Well, and the biggest thing is that is an experience outside of what we know.
Yeah.
And if you take what you experienced and try to find something to learn from it, or just know that there's something to learn from it, that's where the comparison to me hits hard, because I mean, it's parallel to a psychedelic experience, because it's out of this world.
Yeah. Yeah. And, there's the scientist part of me that wants to just say, it's just like kind of a defrag cycle for your brain, and it involves parts of your memories and consciousness. So you remember it, but it's actually just, different memories from your brain that aren't part of your normal consciousness, that are part of your subconscious, that are just, like, for instance, I'm just thinking of a weird dream that I don't think really made much sense, but it was very vivid. Now I took I don't know, have you ever taken valerian root?
I remember talking to you about it back when we probably like episode 2, I want to say.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I mean, I think it's called the African dream root, or maybe even, because dude, you take 4 of these pills and you have dreams that like, I mean, it's hard to sleep, honestly. Like it's
really?
Very vivid dreams, and just as detailed as what you just went through. And so the last one I had that I remember, and it's not every time I take it, it's most of the time, but there's sometimes I take it, I'm like, I don't remember anything. And I think weed counteracts that, because of stopping your REM cycle,
probably a little bit. Yeah.
The length so I think like, yeah, I'm definitely, I'm going to try sober October again, and take valerian root while I'm doing that. And I think it's going to be pretty trippy.
Super trippy. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause when you mix that, like kind of coming off of weed sleep, the first couple of weeks of doing that, and then taking valerian root, it'll be pretty trippy. But the last one I remember, I was like renovating or flipping like a house or an apartment with my wife's uncle and her cousin, which like neither of them do that. And I don't either. And I don't think we've even like talked about, like, hey, let's buy houses and fix them. So this isn't a realistic situation, but it was very vividly them talking to me just like it was any other, Sunday family get together. And I remember I had to constantly pee while we were doing this work on this apartment. And I would wake up and real life and like have to go in the bathroom and pee. I don't know if I drank a bunch of water or what it was. I don't have to get up in the middle of the night and pee, but for whatever reason, this night I did. And every time I did, I would wake up and be like, that was a fucked up dream. And then I would fall back asleep and be right back in it. And they would be sitting around waiting and be like, dude, where'd you go? And I'd be like, I had to pee. And they're like, all right, let's finish this countertop up. And we were like doing very specific things in an apartment, measuring shit and cutting it. And we had specific jobs. And it was the three of us, talking about shit. And then there was like, probably 3 or 4 times that I had to pee and left the scenario and was in real life, like pinching myself. Yeah. Like, am I fucking awake? Like I was awake peeing in my bathroom, taking a drink of water and going like, whew, that was weird. I even tried to, I like after the second time, I was like, I gotta get to sleep. This is bizarre. And I was like hitting a dabber to try to fucking kill the dreams off. Yeah. But I kept going back and working on this apartment with them. And it made me think when I was thinking about it, I'm like, what is there a lesson in that? What is this? And, I mean, I like, we've talked about it. I like sci-fi stuff. I fucking love every plot line to every Rick and Morty episode and stuff like that. And, I mean, I believe in kind of like the multiverse theory and that, the idea that any possibility that could have happened in the timeline of history has happened, and that created a whole nother universe. And so anything that could happen has happened. And it's possible that, our consciousness is able to shift between those other timelines, and that but that can only happen while you're asleep and your consciousness, your timeline is on pause or whatever,
Yeah.
And so that's kind of what it made me think of a possibility, that like somewhere, my wife's uncle and cousin and I started a house flipping business, and I apparently have to pee quite a bit there, and every time I do, I nod off and I come back here. I don't know, I don't
No, yeah, I felt that too. I felt the infinite possibilities happening at every second in like a deep psychedelic trip. I've definitely felt that there, you know?
Yeah. And it's weird. And then it's also weird, to think about sleep and stuff like that, we sleep for longer stretches of time than most of our human history. Like currently we sleep more. Like sleeping a 8-hour stretch wasn't what used to happen. Like, especially like, in the 1500, whenever, before there was artificial light. Like, it was very common to get up in the middle of the night to look at the stars, or people stayed up all night looking at stars or whatever. But, it was very, very common to just grab like 2 hours here and there. And that was kind of the human sleep cycle. So if we were doing that, we weren't dreaming at all, so like kind of having these big, long REM cycles is kind of a new thing for humans. And, is that possibly part of the reason that we're, advancing quicker now, or what? I don't know. I mean, it's weird. It's weird to think about, but I don't know.
Well, yeah, and the 8 hours a night estimation is just a guess at the end of the day. I think it's just what people like scientists have studied, that people function best on 8 hours, but everybody's got their own, their own 6 to, I would say even like 4 to 8 hours or 4 to 10 hours.
Yeah. I mean, the biggest positive outcome of quitting my job and having the lifestyle I have now. And maybe the only positive, honestly, but is I sleep a lot more than I did before. You know, when I was working, I was lucky to get 6 hours.
Oh God.
And I mean, I was dragging ass all the time.
Coffee all the time. And because of that, I felt like I'm good. I'm alert in the morning, you know, but I came home and just completely crashed. And I mean, I used to I would come home from work at like 5:30 or so and climb into bed before my wife and kids got home and drink a cup of coffee and watch TV like in the dark. Like, yeah,
I mean, and then like I had to drink a cup of coffee when I came home from work. Otherwise I couldn't do anything. And, you know, and not that had anything to do with dreams, but just, you know, the amount of sleep, like, man, that just didn't work for me, you know? And, so now, I mean, I wouldn't say I always get 8 hours, but I at least get 6.5 to 7. And, it's a lot. I feel a lot better. You know, I think that's helped me kind of work towards, positive growth more than just the free time of not having to work has, you know, is just the being more rested.
So important.
Yeah. It's all about that REM sleep. And that's one thing where like, I love weed, but I really, I do think that I need to really limit it, just to, you know, get more REM sleep.
Yeah, no, definitely. I haven't smoked in probably 4 or 5 months. So, you know, it's been a while. And whenever I have dreams, they're normally wild, just like the one I described.
Yeah.
And then if it's a night where I take kratom on top of that, like once in a while, I'll take probably, I'd say like twice a month, I'll take a red strain of kratom, and I'll feel like I'm going into like, what's that movie, Inception?
Yeah.
Yeah. I'll feel like I'm going into like one of those type of dreams where you just dream over dream over dream because of how deep the sleep is.
It's awesome.
Yeah, no, it's really cool. It's really trippy, and it's like almost experimental, but,
yeah.
But anyways, dude, I mean, where were you at? Where were your vacation at?
Well, yeah. So, I mean, actually to segue from dreams into, vacation stuff. So my wife and I, my older son is at camp, for like a month, and, my mom took my younger son for, like half a week and, kept him at her house.
That's nice.
So he said he was going to Camp Grandma, which is actually the name of our place in New York too. There's a sign that says Camp Grandma. So my wife and I, we were, you know, thinking what we should do. And, there's just a lot of stuff up in New York, near our place that we don't get to do with kids. And, so there's one thing that we wanted to do it's out by the Finger Lakes in New York. And it's like a really, really nice cooking school. And they have like a Friday, Saturday night cooking class, you know, for couples. Mm-hmm. And so we were thinking of doing that. But there's nothing else really out that way. And we were having our dogs with us, and that's at night. So we were like, well, we might have to stay out that way and find a place with the dogs. And it was just going to be a pain. So I was like looking around, and I've been to this place before, but it was like part of like some event, and I was just going with some friends, but it's called Lilydale, and it is, it's pretty close to Lake Erie in Western New York, maybe like an hour south of Buffalo, but like along the lake. And it's a gated community. You have to pay $15 a person to just come in the town. Mm-hmm. And it's since the 1850s, it has been the home of the religion of spiritualism, which I wasn't really aware that was like a specific religion. I thought that was just kind of, you know, like kind of saying you're agnostic or something like that. But spiritualism is an actual religion that people, you know, follow. And the one, they believe in psychic mediums.
Okay.
In all sorts of different ways. They believe in ghosts and angels. I believe, I should have looked it up before I started talking about it, but I believe it's rooted in Christianity. People, the websites of the different mediums I looked at and the medium that I went and saw, talk about Christ and all of this stuff. But then it's also got this like metaphysical, infinite universe kind of vibe to it too. So it's pretty cool. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so it's all these really, really old homes. You can drive, but everyone kind of drives golf carts around and everyone's just kind of walking around the town. It is the most peaceful place and it was a beautiful day. It was supposed to rain and it like kind of sprinkled a little bit. It didn't. It was just beautiful weather, beautiful climate and everything like that. Western New York in the summer is kind of ideal. So anyway, I had read a book about it and I had been there. And some other friends got like angel readings at this event that we went to. And then, I think we tripped and went there maybe or something. I don't know. It was just high school. This place, Jim Morrison got married there. And
shit.
Yeah, that was one reason that I was like, oh yeah, I wanted to go in high school. I was like, infatuated with Jim Morrison. So that's why I went there, but I didn't take it very seriously or anything. I was into, I think we've talked about the Celestian Prophecy book and that guy is a spiritualist, as a religion. And so what's weird is that I didn't make that connection, but I was very into that book at the time. But I thought it was all like about psychedelics. I didn't realize, like this guy wasn't into that.
Yeah.
So he speaks at this place. And I guess I should have known that in high school, but anyway, I had told my wife about this place quite a bit and she is, she's had some friends that are into like tarot cards. And I think she had, a tarot card reading several times and an angel reading and stuff like that. So she's had psychic, encounters, if you will, but, she doesn't fully really believe in it or anything, but she doesn't disbelieve either. So, she has an open mind. Mm-hmm. And I just knew it was a pretty place. It's in winery country. And so I was like, why don't we do this? And then we'll just make a day of it out in that area. And she was like, that sounds great. So we did. And that was last week. And I looked on their website. I had kind of short notice once we decided to do that. And so I looked on their website and this is like peak season for them of when people come, because they're kind of closed in the winter. They get just douched with snow every winter. So it's like, I think most people leave the town, honestly, in the winter. It'd be pretty tough to live there. But so on their website, they have all their registered mediums and you can contact them. And I was just like writing people like, hey, we're going to be there in a week. Do you have any openings, whatever. And I didn't hear back from anybody except like there was two that I actually really wanted to do. And the reason is because they, the one lady does like these charcoal drawings of your spirit, guides, or your guardian angels, I mean. And then this other lady did, aura or aura, however you want to pronounce it, AURA, mm-hmm. Drawings of your aura. And and you get to keep it. So I was like, all these people are about the same price. At least these two, you get to like keep like a piece of artwork that they make that's unique to you. And I was like, so even if it's a bunch of junk and I don't believe in anything they say, like we have a nice keepsake for it,
Yeah.
And so the one lady got back and she was closed on the day we were going, but she's like, I live in the town, so I can come over to the house that I do the readings at and fit you guys in, back to back and do two separate readings. I was like, that's perfect. So we did that. So I went first and to bring it back around to dreams, like, right off the bat, she started talking about dreams and REM sleep and stuff like that. And she was like, so dreams, they're that's when your consciousness can go to the other realm. And that is, you experience what the afterlife is like. And your ancestors, can use that time to reconnect with you, tell you messages, to mess with you. Like she said, that's your connection with your ancestors, is through your dreams. And we do that every night. And that's why like sleep's really important. And that's the reason that when you don't sleep a lot or don't have a lot of REM sleep, that it's really unhealthy and you get really stressed out and confused and stuff like that. So I thought that was pretty interesting. Like that was right off the bat. That was right off the bat what she talked about. And I was like, yeah, I get it. I was like, I like sleeping, and yeah. So like, then she just kind of talked about like her history and how long she'd been a medium and that it runs in her family and all this stuff. And was, I mean, she talked a lot about like, kind of, I can't remember what she was talking about, but she was tying like astrophysics into like astrology and like why.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Like giving like all these like kind of like, cosmonaut type of like view of like what Pisces are and when the planets are lined up and stuff like that. So I thought that was really cool actually. Because, I think that's the thing missed in like most religions is the acknowledgement of how bizarre it is, at least acknowledging how bizarre it is that we're, on this round rock spinning around like all of this stuff that it's like, that's great if you're a religion that wants to be like, oh, there's a heaven and a hell and God and this and blah, blah, blah. And then is like, oh, well, yeah. And there's this, we're in a galaxy that has a black hole and, like all this stuff that's like, that's really bizarre. Why don't we answer those questions along with all the other questions, and they just kind of like space and everything is like, well, that's just beside the fact, and it's like, no, that's part of the whole picture, and so like, I thought that was kind of cool that like, it seems to be at least this clergy that I encountered, has this connection between, astrophysics and science and spiritualism. So that was pretty cool. And what's weird is she didn't go over that with my wife. I was like, how did she know that? But then I did think, on the way home, I was wearing a NASA shirt.
Okay.
So I that could have been why she brought all that up, but, well, it probably was why she brought all that up, but regardless, she starts talking about the process of drawing this aura chart, and she's like, so I talked to your angels, and she's like, they don't really say who they are. I have to like kind of go off of the feeling I get, and you just kind of direct me towards who it is. And she's like, but don't over exaggerate. Don't just answer my questions. Don't expand on them, and don't tell me anything else about you. She's like, because then then it involves my psychology, and I start, kind of making connections that aren't there. And I was like, okay, that's fine, And so she starts like kind of humming, and she starts drawing this picture, and she's like, and that's the Andrews sisters. She's like, that's World War II. I'm getting a World War II energy. Should I be? And, maybe that's a good guess or whatever. Just for, like people's grandparents of my age or were in World War II and stuff like that. Maybe that's a good guess. But my grandpa was like on the invasion of Normandy. Like,
oh, wow.
Like, the opening scene of Saving Private Ryan where they're on the boats and like they're getting drop the front and like everyone gets shot. Yeah, my grandpa was on one of those boats. Like this dude that he made friends with like died in his arms on the beach in Normandy, and like he promised he would find his wife. I mean, it's my grandpa has a crazy World War II story. And was a big part of his life. Like when Saving Private Ryan came out, him and my grandma went to see it, and he had to leave after that first scene. And got up and left. And he had never talked about World War II to anybody, but that he called my brother for some reason and just like spilled his guts about everything that happened when he had never talked about it. Wow. And then made a trip to go over to France to like see the battlefields and tour all that and stuff like that, which he had never wanted to do. So that's
strong connection there.
Strong connection. And it could be a lucky guess, but definitely a strong connection, And so I was like, yeah, my grandfather fought in World War II. And like, I started to tell her more and she was like, shh, shh, shh. And I was like, okay. And then she was like, this is crazy. And this is where it's like, it could be like a lucky guess, I guess. I'm trying to like, say what my bullshit meter was saying at the time. But she's like, and I'm getting that he was hurt somehow. He was injured, but just one side. Like one side was like weighing him down, and it stopped him from doing what he wanted to do. My grandpa, at some point during that first battle, he had dug a foxhole, and you were supposed to dig a foxhole and get into it. And he had really bad eyes, and he had a prescription gas mask that fogged up and he couldn't see. So he had to take it off, and he was feeling around for his foxhole to jump into to take cover. And he found it, and he stuck his hand in it. But when he did, a grenade went in there and blew his hand up. And before he got sent, when he was drafted or whatever, before he got sent overseas, he was like an Olympic level, like squash player, like handball. And was one reason like he didn't go in the first, like, I don't know, like the Army wanted him to like play for their team. And I mean, he was like big into it. It was like a big part of his life as an athlete playing squash. And his, right hand was the one that he stuck in the foxhole, and it blew up. And he couldn't play anymore. And they actually wanted to cut his hand off, but he, his brother-in-law, my grandma's brother, was a surgeon for the Army and was stationed in like some other country in Europe, and somehow heard that they were about to like cut his brother-in-law's hand off, and was like, don't touch him. I'm coming there and I'm going to do the surgery. And he saved him. He saved my grandpa's hand. He could never play squash again though. But he, my grandpa didn't lose his hand. So her saying that, like, I mean, I guess that could be a lucky guess if she's full of shit, but that's pretty crazy. Like,
yeah.
I mean, to say like he got injured on one side and it stopped him from being able to do what he wanted to do. Like, I don't know. That was pretty crazy. So right there, I was kind of like, this might not be bullshit,
Yeah. Yeah.
And then so she started drawing in the middle of the picture. It was a baseball bat, but it was curved. And she's like, are you sure it's curved? Yeah. And like, so the whole time she's like talking like, to angels or whatever. And she's like, no, I don't like that curve. If it's a baseball bat, it's curved. Okay, it's curved. And then she finished drawing it and then moved on. And she's like, were you hit with a baseball, like a bat or a ball? I'm seeing the ball where you hit in the head with a baseball when you were young that you remember. And I was like, no, I never played baseball. I don't even like it, And she's like, okay, well, it's a baseball bat. She's like, it might symbolize something else. And then, so I was thinking later, and I didn't tell her this is later. I was just looking at the picture that like freshman year playing hockey, I was on defense and I got just blasted with a slap shot in the side of the head. And I was thinking like a curved, like if she's trying to draw a stick or a bat, and it's curved like that, that would be a hockey stick.
That's wild.
And the reason she brought it up is that like your guardian angels, they won't let you go before it's your time. And if there is something, she's like, have you ever felt like you've been in a car and the car's like swerved and, you're about to go off the road or something like that. She's like, they can kind of just bump you back onto the road to safety or whatever. And the same thing if something's about to hit you. And so she's like, maybe the ball didn't hit you, but it was going to, and your ancestors moved it out of the way. So I don't know if, like I was about to get blasted in the neck and get paralyzed by this hockey puck and it just hit me in the head or whatever, but I do remember, I probably got a concussion from that. Like I remember, like back in those days, they were just like, oh, you got your bell rung, go get some Gatorade, but I remember like it did fucking fuck me up. Like it was a hard shot, and I don't care if you got a helmet on or not, a fucking slap shot to the head doesn't feel good, so like I didn't think about that till later, but I was like, shit, that might have been what she was talking about. Because at first I'm like, no, I never played baseball, yeah, and then so she starts like drawing, and it's like these phases of your life, and it covers 8 years, and it goes. And it's never the same. She's like, it depends on the person. Sometimes it goes back 7 years and it talks about the next year of your life. Sometimes it goes back 1 year and it talks about the next 7 of your life or whatever.
Okay.
And so she's like drawing stuff and she's like, well, it looks like this started in March or April of 2017. What'd you do then? And I was like, I don't know. Because I was like thinking, 2017 is when I quit my job, but that wasn't until like August,
Yeah.
So I was like, maybe I was thinking about that or something. And she's like, I don't know. You did something pretty important. And I was like, okay, well, I don't know. She's like, well, okay. Sometimes we don't realize the things we're doing, what they're going to do in the future. And I was like, yeah, I understand. And I was like, I made a lot of changes following that. So maybe that was when I came up with, the idea of whatever. And so she starts like drawing and then the next, that was like, the color was yellow. And then she's like, oh, and then you switched to green. That's good. Okay. And then she's like, what? No, he takes care of the trees. No, that's not what the green's for. And she said that, like she said that to the angels. Yeah. And I was like, I'm like, I've worked in like forestry and I like work with plants and trees and stuff like that. And for 5 years, I looked after the trees. And she didn't know that. And she wasn't even saying it to me. She was talking to, my grandpa apparently, but yeah, like that was a weird thing that she said. And then so I should have wrote shit down, but, and she gave me a notepad. She's like, you want to write stuff down? And she said a couple times, she's like, you're not writing anything. I was like, I'm trying to soak it all in, so the green went into blue and she said, this is probably about June next year. And she's like, oh, you're one of these. And she like moved her hands like like you're a talker, you talk too much, you know what I'm saying, that hand gesture I'm talking about.
Yeah.
She's like, you're one of these, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. She's like, oh yeah, okay, so you're going into communication. and I was like, and she's like, what kind of communication work would you do? And I was like, well, that's interesting. I was like, I went to vocational school for radio, TV broadcasting. And she's like, yeah, but you don't do that now. And I was like, no. And she's like, yeah, well, you're going to go into it, I guess. And I was like, well, I do a podcast and a YouTube channel. And she's like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah. So it's going to start getting serious. Is what she said. Yeah. And then she was like, you're really getting a handle on it now. That's what the baseball bat is. That's what she said. And she's like, this is transitioning in. You're really getting a handle on it. And she said, at some point next year, you're going to be talking even more than you do now. And the words aren't going to feel like they're coming from your mouth. They're going to feel like someone else is saying them for you. And she's like, and you have to let it flow through you. And I was like, okay, that's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And then she said, and then the next color moved into, like, I don't have it in front of me. I can't remember what the next color was. But she was like, and then this is where you become the architect. And, she said, you're finally the boss, which is weird. Cause I didn't talk to her about like my job or anything, but like,
yeah, no,
you know, one reason I quit my job was I was like, I'm sick of fucking just not being the boss. You know, I was like, you know, and I've went to like vocational coaching to try and like figure out how to get like managerial experience and stuff like that. And it's like, cause I'm never the boss. And like, so that's been like you know, like a career kind of path goal I've had. And for her to just bring that up was just kind of weird too.
Yeah. Holy shit.
You know? So like, those are the only things that were like big connections. There was a bunch of other stuff she asked for. I'm like, I don't know. No.
Yeah.
You know? And then like, she asked, like, she was like, you know, okay, so do you have any questions like for the other side? And I was like, well, I mean, a lot, but I was like, I don't have a specific one. She's like, oh, well, you should have came with one. And I was like, I don't have a specific one. And she's like, well, why'd you come here? And I was like, well, I don't know. Like you said that you know, that the angels nudge you or whatever. I was like, I just felt kind of nudged, and then everything just kind of worked out. And I was like, and she's like, and then she said something, I can't remember what she said, but she was like, I think that you see and notice a lot of synchronicities, don't you? And I was like, yeah, that's like kind of what I talk about on my podcast. And, you know, and she's like, those aren't just happenstance. She's like, there isn't any happenstance in life. And she's like, and things move so slow down here. And she's like, and in the infinite, they move very fast. And she's like, and one of the only ways that they can like get a message across is with like synchronicity and stuff like that. Or so I can't remember. I wish I would have wrote down what she said, because what she said about synchronicity was pretty cool. And then I remembered, I thought about it while we were driving there, but then I was just kind of like, whatever. Is like, I was listening to some Rogan podcast. Oh, it was Rogan with Reggie Watts.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were like all over the place. And then for like one little second, they started talking about water. And right when they were talking about water, the truck that was in front of us on the highway moved out of the way. And there was a water truck in front of us that said just water. It didn't say nothing else, just the word water. And like, so I was like, I told her that. I was like, I saw that. And then I was just like, it's stuff like that. I mean, that makes me feel like I'm on the right path, going where I'm supposed to go. And she was like, yeah, she's like, it's important to like be observant of all that. And that's the only difference between a medium and everyone else. She's like, everyone's born psychic. Some people just aren't paying attention to it.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So it was pretty cool. And then, I mean, my wife's experience was kind of the same way, you know, like,
really?
Yeah. You know, I didn't talk about kids or nothing at all. Mm-hmm. I didn't talk about her at all.
And you both were entirely separate, right?
Right. And she didn't know nothing about her and didn't ask. And, you know, like I've talked about in my one video about like when my wife was, you know, in a coma and stuff like that. Like she asked her, she was like, when did you stop breathing? And like asked her about that and said that like your angels pushed you back. You were not ready to go. They pushed you back. And then when she was talking about like the relative that was trying to talk to her, she was like, she started choking and she's like, I can't swallow. Why can't I swallow? And her grandma like always had these esophageal problems and had to like have her like esophagus expanded so that she would like choke on food all the time and stuff like that.
That's wild, dude.
I know. Yeah. So it was,
and this started out your vacation?
Yeah. 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 I mean, it was the day after we got there. Yeah.
Holy shit.
So, I mean, it was weird. Like I said, it really wasn't. I mean, basically her thing, was, you're on the right path. Be patient,
Mm-hmm.
Because I started talking about like, how frustrated I am that like I keep trying to get jobs and think I'm got the right job for me, and I don't get it, or I don't get an interview or whatever. And she's like, that's not your path. She's like, you can't make your path. You can follow your path, and so it was kind of good. But I mean, it's like, I don't know. Does everyone that walk in there have a good one? Like she could be like, if someone's about to get hit by a bus the next week, like what is their reading,
Yeah.
Like there's just too much, like you can go and be like, oh yeah, this is great. But like that isn't true for everyone,
Mm-hmm.
And so like, but not everyone gets a psychic reading either. So I don't know, but, yeah, that's what I wonder is like for the people that have truly some shit heading down the pike towards them, like, are they able to tell that, or is it always a good story when you leave there? I don't know.
It's just a big brown painting.
Right.
Yeah. You just got shit coming.
Yeah. Cause she was like, she's looking at it and she's like, well, it's gray actually. She's like, there's no gray in your aura at all. And that's good. There's no depression. I'm like, you're right. I was like,
that's how I know this is fake.
Right. Yeah. That's what I told her. I was like, I've been like really depressed this year at certain times. She's like, no, that's not depression. And she was like, you could be disappointed. You could be frustrated. She's like, that's not depression. And you don't have any depression. And I don't see any in the past couple of years either. So I was like, well, that's interesting, but
what, did you think more about, the March, April, 2017 and what was going down then?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. So again, this is like, just like with psychedelic shit, you see the patterns you want to see.
Yep.
March and April 2017 would have been the first time I bought cryptocurrency.
Okay.
And June next year, or whenever, the other date, I don't have the picture in front of me, but the other date that she said is like, you're going to really see what you did in April. You're really going to see the benefit from it, is when the halvening is of Bitcoin that I think is going to, really kick off the crypto market.
And that's in June of next year, whatever she said.
It's like May or June, whatever she said. Yeah. Yeah. And again, that's, I don't know, like,
I mean, what if all of it happens though?
I know. Well, if all of it happens, I'm going there once a year.
Honestly, no reason not to with it by your property.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I mean, regardless of, she's been doing it for 33 years.
Mm-hmm.
If you hit on one thing, you know how to like kind of feed off of people. She's seen every kind of person come in, and my bullshit meter didn't turn off the whole time. Which I was talking to my friend who's a medium, or her husband, and he's like, if you don't fully believe, like it's not going to work neither. It's kind of like, you're blocking it. If you're like, this is bullshit, they don't want to talk to you. So. I don't know.
I mean, you both went in with open minds, though, and that's the best case scenario.
Yeah, my wife took it more serious than I did. I mean, she wrote a whole 2 pages of notes from it and stuff. Where like I wrote April 2017, June 2020. That's all I wrote on mine. But yeah, like it was pretty weird, but. Just going to the place is awesome. I mean, it was just a great day with my wife. Like it was seriously, the energy in that place is awesome. It was so peaceful. It's this little island of the earth that, I doubt anyone's talking about politics and, whatever. Like, I mean, there's just people walking around, like talking about relatives and stuff, cause there's people there seeing all these different mediums at their house. And then, so everyone's walking around, and there's a little coffee shop and, like a big temple, open air temple stage kind of thing in the middle of the town. And, it's on this really pretty lake and stuff. I mean, it was just really cool. I recommend anyone that finds themselves out that way. And especially if you're into like psychic stuff. Like it's kind of the epicenter for that. They have a museum there where people from around the world send their ghost photos, like photos that have either orbs or like fully formed people that aren't really in the picture in them. And it was kind of cool looking through all that and everything. And they're all about that. There's just spirits all around us that are infinite and have some very limited kind of influence over the physical world.
Yeah. Were there any other services that you would definitely take advantage of if you were to go back?
Well, they have like group stuff. It'll be like or they have like a whole weekend workshop. Wow. Like there's people that are like kind of trying to get to be a registered medium that go for like classes or whatever it takes to get that,
hours or something.
So they have a lot of that stuff. So that was another weird thing that like, and I asked my wife if she said it to her, but she didn't, where, she had been talking and then she's like, oh, James Redfield's coming to talk. James Redfield is the guy that wrote the Celestian prophecy. We weren't talking about that. We didn't talk about that. And she just like said it like matter of factly. And I thought it was like, I was like, oh, cool. Yeah. I was really into that book. And she like kind of didn't even acknowledge that I said that and just kind of went on her way. And like, she didn't, I thought maybe she was just advertising that because he was coming and maybe you got to pay money to go see him or whatever, but she didn't say it to my wife. And there wasn't any signs anywhere about him coming.
That's so strange.
Yeah, that was pretty weird too.
That's cool though, man. That sounds like I just can't even fathom that. That's got to be cool. The pictures that you posted on the Discord made it look really, really cool.
Yeah, I mean, it was beautiful. It was a really peaceful day, just walking around. There's all these trails. While my wife was getting her reading, it was about 45 minutes of reading, and so I walked on this trail, and it goes to this. It's called Inspiration Stump, and it's like this tree stump that, like, since 1850, they've been like having like, seances and all this kinds of stuff, like, on this stump, like people come stand on it, and there's like pews. It's like a, kind of like it's all in the woods, and there's trees everywhere, but it's kind of like this, kind of open area where they have, it's like an outdoor, gathering worship area, and instead of a stage or anything, there's just a old tree stump that I think they had kind of cemented over and stuff like that. But I mean, there's pictures of people on it in the 1800s, giving a talk or whatever, and no one was around. I just went and like sat on that and kind of meditated for a minute, and it was just really peaceful. It was just a really beautiful place that I definitely will go back to for sure.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm happy. When you said you were going to that, my skeptic meter went through the roof. And hearing that it's not all just bullshit is pretty cool.
Yeah, I've never. Maybe I've had like, some drunk person at a party do tarot cards, but I've never had like someone that actually is like devoted to that as their life. Being a medium, I've never had that. So yeah,
man.
I recommend it. I mean, I definitely, I'm not I never was a full on skeptic, but I'm less of a skeptic now. Let's put it that way. And I look at it much like with psychedelics, like you can't really shit on it if you've never tried it.
Yeah.
And so if anyone's like, psychics are bullshit, it's like, have you ever went to one? And they'll be like, no way, man, it's bullshit. That's how I kind of feel about it now. Like now I can actually make my opinion about it because
you did it.
I've experienced it,
Yeah. So. That's cool, man. So that started off your vacation, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then what else how long were you out there actually?
We got there on a Wednesday night. We left on Sunday.
Cool. Anything else? Anything else notable that you did?
Well, yeah. So we, well, first off, we went hiking at Letchworth State Park, which if anyone's planning on driving through New York or
where's that at?
Going, it's about 15 miles from my house up there. It's on the Genesee River, which flows through Rochester, but this is in the country. And the Genesee there, for whatever reason, I don't really know the geologic reasons, but it formed this huge gorge, and they call it the Grand Canyon of the East. And that is not an understatement. I mean, it like I've taken people there. I always, whenever people come visit up in New York, I take them there. I mean, Niagara Falls is great too. And, you know, that's definitely the Western New York trip needs to involve both. I've taken people there that, like, my one friend was like on the phone with his mom or whatever, and he's just like talking, and then we like pulled down the entryway into the park, and there's this, you know, canyon in front of you, and you're just driving in like cow fields up until that point too. And he was like on the phone with his mom. He's like, I gotta call you back. He's like, holy shit, dude. He's like, I thought we were just like gonna go like smoke a joint at a state park. Like, I didn't know I was gonna have a mind-blowing nature experience, you know? And so there's these like 3 waterfalls, and the whole property of the park was actually someone's estate. And Letchworth was his name. That's what the park's named after.
Okay.
And he built his house overlooking this fucking beautiful waterfall. And that is a restaurant, and you can go eat at it. It's called the Glen Iris. And the waiting area is this like, cobblestone balcony that overlooks this beautiful waterfall that they have lights on and stuff at night. I mean, it's an amazing state park.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's, yeah, like I said, it's about 15 miles, 25 minutes or something from our house. So we went and we hiked there.
Good trails.
Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's beautiful. There's this one trail that just follows along the rim of the gorge, and, you know, you see all these birds flying in the gorge, and there's all these like little waterfalls that, you know, come out of springs and stuff like that. And it's really nice hiking. So we did that, and like we were going to do LSD. My wife hadn't done it in like 20 years. And I brought my whole, all the stuff I would need to go with it. I kind of, I've been traveling with, you know, kind of a case that's kind of a Bush League dad version of Hunter Thompson's case in Fear and Loathing. It's got like kratom and modafinil and
ready
CBD,
for whatever.
CBD and phenibut. You know, nothing fun like ether or mescaline, but
yeah.
You know, I have my little dropper of LSD. So the night before, however, she was kind of worried and was like, so talk to me about tomorrow night. And I was like, well, what? And she's like, I'm afraid of us doing acid. Like, our brains will be goofy, I think is what she said. And I was like, well, yeah, that's the point.
How long has it been before she had taken her last one?
Yeah, I think she was, I think it's like 20 years. I think she said she was 19. Shit. Yeah, it was like 19 at like a fish show or something, you know?
Okay.
And, so yeah, I was like, well, I mean, if you shouldn't be afraid to do it, but, if you're afraid to do it, you shouldn't do it, you know, is what I said. Yeah. And she's like, well, I don't know. Let's see. I was like, okay. I was like, but also remember it takes quite a while, you know, like, we can't decide at like 9 p.m. that we want to do it, you know? And she's like, okay. So, you know, we went to sleep or whatever. And like, I just kind of woke up and I was like, we're not doing it. You know, like that's not going to happen. And we just didn't really even talk about it. And, you know, we went and we were hiking around the park, and I just didn't really even talk about it, you know, or whatever. Mm-hmm. And, you know, she mentioned something like, well, that'll be fun tonight when we're tripping. And then I was like, oh, so we're still doing that? And
it's on.
Yeah. And she was like, well, if you want. And I was like, well, it's already like 12 o'clock. I'm like, okay. I was like, we'll just see, like I kind of already like put it out of my head too. And I'm like, well, then I'm going to be weirded out, so I was like, okay, well, then we got to kind of wrap up the hiking, and so we went back and, I think we were just hanging out. I can't really remember, but it ended up, it was like 3 maybe, which is already like, I wanted to take it like at noon.
Yeah.
And, so yeah, it was like 2:30 or 3. And she was like, we were just like sitting there and she's like, so do you want a trip? And I was like, if you do. And, and then she was like, well, why not? We're not going to get the chance again. I was like, okay.
You don't got to tell me twice.
Yeah. But at the same time, I'm like, that's not how I want a trip. Like, why not? Like,
yeah,
I usually have more intention and planning than that. But either way, I was like, okay. And got it ready. And, I don't know if I've talked about how we have like, access to this big blueberry field up there. It's like about 8 acres of blueberries.
Yeah. And, no, you never mentioned that.
Oh yeah. Yeah. So our friends are trying to, start a blueberry, like maybe a pick your own company or something like that. So they, because of the rain and stuff, our friends, when we went and talked to them, they were like, we tell you to go up and grab some blueberries, but they aren't in yet because of the rain we've had. They're a couple weeks late, and we're like, crap. Because usually like middle of July, you can go up there and just get buckets full of blueberries, and they're fucking awesome. I mean, they're, organic, about as big as a fucking apple. Some of them, I mean, they're huge blueberries. And, so, but it's a nice golf cart ride up through the woods to it. So we took the first dose because I definitely like from my last LSD experience of splitting the doses up with about 20 minutes in between.
How much did you take?
Well, I wanted to take 100. I didn't want to blow her mind, or nothing.
Yeah.
I didn't want a weird situation and, whatever. So, I wanted enough to, to get the effect, but I didn't want, kind of the madness I had the last time,
Mm-hmm. So you did 50-50?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
okay. So we took the 50 and then went for a golf cart ride, and we went up to the blueberry field. And when we got up there, like they were just starting to get ripe. Like we were able to find like some ripe ones. And so like, I think we were the first ones of the season to eat any of the blueberries other than bears and deer and birds and stuff like that. But I think we were the first people to eat any blueberries, which was really cool. And like, it was a really beautiful day, and it's like up on this hill, and the view is amazing. I mean, you can't see really any other houses or anything. It's just, kind of this whole valley ridge area. And, so we were just up there, and like, it was definitely coming on, like not weird, not anxious. It was just like kind of that like beauty and being like, oh, this is going to be awesome, and then so we ate a bunch of blueberries, but I wasn't getting nervous, but I was getting a little like my stomach was kind of in a knot. So like eating blueberries really wasn't like the scene was good, but eating the blueberries, I was kind of like,
yeah.
But, so then we left and we drove further up into the fields. There's this really nice pond and stuff like that. And then we took, it had been about 20 minutes. So I brought the doses with us. And, so we took the other 50, and then, there's all these trails through the woods where normally I can find my way around. But it started after we took that second dose. The other one was definitely coming on, and I was like getting lost in the woods, and it was like kind of muddy, and like we just have a shitty golf cart. Like it could get stuck in the mud.
Yeah.
And like, I was like, we would be driving on a path where I didn't really even know where we were anyway. And then we would come on a big thing of mud, and I'd have to like do like a 15-point turn to turn around. And like, it's just getting kind of weird. And I was getting really sweaty, and I was like, we got to get back to the fucking house. Like this could get really awkward out here, And so, I was able to backtrack to where we got into the woods and then just take the path back and whatever. And then, yeah, we went back and we just laid on we got blankets and pillows and laid on our back porch, which, you know, it's really private. You can't see anybody. And you know, just it was like kind of the perfect day where it was sunny, but overcast. So like, there was like really cool clouds coming through that you could watch and just listen to the Grateful Dead. And, you know, it was definitely, well, and one thing was like, I'm more of a like nervous energy, like got to get up and walk. Let's go somewhere. And my wife was like, really like, let's chill. So like, there was a little bit of that where like, I was like, do you want to do this? You want to do this? You want to watch a movie now? You know, she's like, I just want to lay here and look at the clouds, you know, and I'd have to be like, oh yeah. Okay. You know, and, so like, I think our energies were a little different, but it was all good. It was definitely, there's a big difference between 150 and 100.
Really?
And maybe because I was by myself with the 150, it was a more intense, deep trip, just because of that. But this was definitely more of a party dose, I would say.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
I didn't have any like huge epiphanies, and we weren't even really like having any like huge conversations or anything like that, you know.
It was just relaxing.
It was just relaxing. I will say we watched at one point, you know, this is definitely after the peak. We watched A Wrinkle in Time, the Disney movie, but it's you know, it's an old book from like the late 50s, maybe. I'm not sure. I don't know if we've talked about that book, but it's fucking trippy as shit.
No, yeah, I don't even know about that.
Yeah, it's all about like this like physicist who like creates a way to like jump through dimensions and leaves his family behind, and they have to try to find him through these like three like, you know, kind of cosmic beings that like exist through space and time, and like they help. I mean, it's very there's a lot of symbolism in it for like, you know, love and responsibility of family and stuff like that, but it's also like really, really heavy physics and science.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like recommended for like fourth graders, I think, to read, and that's why it's a Disney movie, but it's a really trippy out there movie, and the special effects and all that too. But it's all about like this like architect of the universe and all this stuff. And watching it, I was getting like all these like kind of feelings like, oh my God, this movie is a message about like what is really going on. You know, I got that whole thing still.
Yeah.
That you get with all psychedelics, you know,
like
this is, I'm supposed to be paying attention to this. This means something, you know, when it's just this Disney movie I've seen 5 times, you know, but, that was really, really cool watching that movie. Honestly, we were doing whippets the whole time we were watching it, and it was pretty trippy for sure.
That's cool, dude.
Yeah. And I mean, I tried to do the meditation thing, but I didn't have the headphones in. Like we were listening together, and we were outside, and there was like birds and the dogs were walking around and stuff. So like I couldn't get into it. So I didn't get to do the meditation stuff. But
I mean, it still sounds like an awesome experience though.
Yeah. I mean, it was just fun, you know, like I wouldn't put it up there with like, you know, super psychedelic, meaningful trips for sure. But I definitely, you know, I mean, my wife definitely enjoyed it. Like she, you know, for as weirded out
in so long,
right? And as scared as she was, I mean, she just kept saying like, "Thank you so much for giving me this experience." Like it was very meaningful for her for sure.
Yeah. Well, and I don't even know like heavy doses together. Like I don't. That is just thinking about that can give me anxiety. Like taking large amounts of psychedelics with anyone, you know?
Yeah. I mean, it's like, and especially for me, I mean, maybe with like friends, I could do heavy doses, but when it's with my wife or anyone doing it with their significant other, you know, and maybe it's misogynistic, I don't know, but I have like a need to be like, I'm in control, you're safe, you know, and like, so I don't want to do a dose that's going to take me out of that, where I'm going to be, you know, losing it. And then at the same token, I don't want to give my significant other a dose that she's going to lose it, and I'm going to not be all the way there to be able to handle it, where it's like,
that's the worst case scenario.
Yeah. So it's like, if I'm going to give her a dose that is enough for her to lose it, then I'm not going to take anything.
Yeah.
And then I don't know. I've struggled with that because my wife has not taken the dosages I've taken yet. I think that she should and needs to, but I'm kind of scared to be the one to guide her through that, because it would be very scary to see her have a hard time,
Certainly.
Yeah. So that was my reasoning for the dosage. I never even thought about doing more than 100. And honestly, I was like kind of thinking of doing less, but it was kind of the perfect amount.
Good.
I'd say. Yeah.
Yeah. It those large doses, or even, I guess, above like a party dose, like even doing like 125 or 150 in that situation, or say like 2.5 grams of psilocybin, that has to be, in my view, something that comes from within the person.
Yeah.
It's not something that can really, like, I'd love for, some people I know to take a certain dose, because I know it would help them out through what they're going through and just life in general, and give them a different perspective. But it's not going to be as good as if they come to that conclusion.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it is. It's like a calling, and And that's what sucks about, like, the people out there that listen to the high dose crowd, and they're like, oh, I got it. Or just watch my video and they're like, oh, I got to do 5 grams on the first time. No, it's, you gotta figure it out, and, I don't know. I mean, my wife doesn't have the calling for more. Like, it's only me that thinks that she should do more. Like, she does not. She's happy right where she's at with every time we do anything, and that's fine,
Yeah. And maybe the day will come, and you'll be ready for that.
Yeah.
Or as ready as you can be.
Yeah.
But how did just the whole vacation thing get your mental rights? And because I went on vacation and it was a big reset for me. It took a couple days to kind of get in vacation mode, and I was by a beach, so it took a while. Like, I didn't get to the point where I was relaxed enough to just be reading all the time. That's normally where I like to be, but just the experience of taking time out like that is awesome reset for the mental in a sober way.
Yeah. Well, I mean, today I was still kind of like, I didn't do my ritual stuff. I'm still in summer mode and whatever. I'm hoping to hit it hard tomorrow and get back into structure and stuff like that.
It's hard to get back into it for sure.
It is. But that's the only reason I was kind of down today. It wasn't any other reason. I was relaxed, but I was like, I don't want to go to the gym, or whatever, like that kind of thing. Because we were on vacation before that with the kids, like the week before. So I've been, like, we came back for a couple days, but I've been on vacation for basically 2 weeks straight, and I guess today I was still kind of decompressing and catching back up to phone world too, because I really, I've been spotty service up in New York, and we were in Tennessee as well, and I've been catching up with some YouTube videos that I didn't get to watch, and catching back up to the crypto world and all that. So hopefully, hopefully tomorrow I can get back at it. But no, it's definitely getting away, even if it's not far, like, or even if it's not someplace you've never been. Like, just me, like, I look at New York, as much as I talk about in the future wanting to make it, a retreat center or recording studio or whatever, I could do with this place. At the very least, it's like my fortress of solitude, like just going up there and just being able to, I could walk out on my porch naked and take a piss and nobody sees you. Like that's I mean, that's not a common occurrence for most people's living situations, like
not at all.
So to be in that kind of situation scenario, it's pretty important for me to go up there as much as I can. And
Yeah.
Whether it's with my wife, whether it's with my kids, whether it's by myself, it's a reset. Just getting out of and I don't even live in the city like you live in the city, but just getting out of the city, like, or my, standard day-to-day, community.
It's key.
It's good. Yeah. You need it.
Yeah. I mean, and what you nailed it on the head when you said it doesn't even have to be a place that's far, just go to a park or shake it up some way that you can. And it's awesome.
Yeah. I think when you were looking at places to stay and you showed me that Airbnb that was just like a tiny house in the middle of the woods, like just something like that. It doesn't need to be expensive. It doesn't need to be fancy. Just get the fuck out of whatever your rut is. Mentally can be fixed by getting out of your physical rut as well, and
setting in the real world is just as important, man.
Set and setting. Yeah. It's pretty good. And that's why, like, that's the third time I've been up to New York this year already. And I think I'm probably going back up 2 more times,
that's great.
5 times in a year is probably the most I've done since, I don't know, for a long time. So, I've definitely tried to, make it as much as I can.
Yeah. And I mean, at a certain point, you shut it down, right? For winter.
Yeah. I'll probably go up in the fall to shut it down.
Okay. And then you just can't go back up until it thaws out.
I would have to pay someone to plow the driveway is the thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like you could go up if there wasn't snow. I mean, I could go up and just turn the water on, turn the heat on, and it's good.
Yeah.
But the problem is the snow. I mean, because they can get 2-3 feet of snow in a night. So.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Then you're blocked in.
Yeah.
Well, shit, man. You wanna hit up some of these Discord questions we got?
Oh yeah.
Sweet. So I mean, this is a 2-parter. This one's from Rich. And for anyone listening, whenever we do episodes that are just me and Ruben, we definitely put the beacon out that if there's any topics you guys want us to touch on, feel free to post on that. So if you guys are interested in that, feel free to join the Discord, which is in a link in the YouTube or the podcast description. But Rich just asked, how have the just psychedelics overall played a role in the perception of the world when unaltered? So when you're sober.
I mean, it's always put, once I had my first like reality shattering, either achieving or approaching ego death type experience, it's like, and to go back to dreams, right? Like a lot of what I call visuals in my trip reports or when I talk about tripping is actually, possibly a waking dream or going into a dream state while on psychedelics and having these kind of visions that are exactly, they're the same visual as whatever a dream is. Maybe you're not seeing it with your closed eyes, but you're seeing it with your internal eyes, and to have those and then wake up from it and you're back to like you're tripping, trying to throw up, or you're back to this like real world. But it was just so real just a second ago, and you were having all the emotions and sensations of that dream or vision or whatever. It's kind of made me, there's always a little bit in the background of my real life perception of consensus reality where I'm like, is this all gonna like go away in a minute? And I'm gonna be, I've seen a meme before of people are like, when you die, it's like you wake up and you're with your friends smoking a bong and they're like, dude, wasn't that fucking crazy? Or whatever.
Yeah.
And so while I've never had a DMT trip, like, it's like, is that the real world? And this isn't, like I've had kind of that perception just in the back of my mind that like everybody I know, love, hate, don't know, all of these people might not be part of what I'm experiencing. that
Yeah.
they might not be experiencing it the same way, or they might not even be here. I might just be experiencing, whether it's a simulation or a hallucination or whatever. That's what psychedelics, unfortunately, I'll say that too, because it's like, that's not a good place to like have in the back of your head that like everything could be fake,
It does help though in certain circumstances, like if you're looking at a problem that is blown out of proportion, you could see how small it is, or vice versa.
Yeah. It helps. It helps the bad things and hurts the good things, maybe, I guess. But But as far as like a positive change in perception, it's I guess it's in the same vein where I'm just like, I'm going to appreciate this now because it's not guaranteed to last, and no amount of literature or meditation or self-help books or therapy has been able to drive that point home about the power of now more than psychedelics for me. I know other people that yoga and diet and reading and praying and meditation have gotten to them to that point to where they know how to appreciate and navigate the now. But for me, it took psychedelics.
Yeah. And for me, the biggest thing was when you have a trip that just completely tears down reality or consensus reality to where you're questioning everything. When you're sober, you kind of have the opportunity to build and redefine everything back up. And that is what happened to me, when I took as much as like the 5 grams in silent darkness. I was like totally lost in consensus reality again. It feels so brand new all over again. But the coolest thing about that is when you're back to being sober from that experience, everything that meant a certain thing to you in the past, it could even just be, something, you correlating something with being bad when that was just a closed perspective. You can shift that then. And I think that's something that's stuck with me since then, is just the open-mindedness of the perception of everything. I don't know. Yeah. Very vague answer and very broad, but that's honestly it. Is the redefinition of things is the biggest for me.
Yeah. I mean, you can get off the rails of your perspective of your life and situation being one thing, and having to reprioritize that at the very least, is a pretty important thing. And if that's something that comes out of psychedelics, I mean, that's pretty awesome.
Yeah. Well, and it's like just living my life up to the point where I was probably either 22 or 23 when I did that, and kind of being on the straight and narrow path that everybody talks about getting off of. And when you're on that path, everything is kind of predetermined and preset, and there's no real questioning what the next move is. You kind of just know because it's been set forth for you.
Yeah. And
after that experience, not only are you off that track, everything changes. You get to choose your next step, and it's not something that's already just sitting there waiting for you. It's whatever you want to go after, really.
Yeah.
Which is awesome. Yeah. But so he also asked about the microdose study that we covered last episode. And he just wanted to see, with yours coming up, how are you prepping for it? And if you have any expectations about placebo versus the actual dose that you'll be taking.
Yeah. So as far as prepping, well, this week I definitely have to get it all set up. But I have to really, I have to take a couple microdose days to find the right, dose again,
Oh yeah.
So, and I think I'm going to go
light. It has
to
be sub-perceptual, right?
Right. And so there's been very few microdose days I've ever had where I've ever been like, is it working? I don't know if it's working. I've never had that. I'll put that out there. I've never, and if I have, I've been like, there isn't enough, and I've taken more, every microdose day I've felt at least a little dopamine or whatever kind of like jolt, at the start for 20 minutes maybe. So I'd have to find a dose low enough to not get that, I guess. So I'll probably take a couple days to do that. And then other than that, I think that I'm going to try to not take even weed during the thing. Like I'm going to try to take at least like a couple weeks off of weed, maybe.
Okay.
I kind of want to.
Any change to like caffeine intake or anything?
So I infrequently, maybe a couple days a week, take the caffeine pill with L-theanine or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to do that. Other than that, I usually only drink 1 to maybe 2 cups of coffee in the morning, and that's about it. I don't do a lot of caffeine.
Okay.
Like, and 2 cups would be like if like I need to kick it up a notch. Usually it's like 1 cup of coffee as soon as I wake up, and that's it.
Yeah, same here.
So I'm going to keep doing that. Just because that I'll feel so shitty trying to cut that out that it'll override any benefits of the microdosing. I have only been taking kratom like a couple days a week, unless like I need it. If I'm not feeling good or have a headache or something like that, like I'll take kratom to just kind of power through, whatever kind of funk I might be going through.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm not going to take it recreationally at all during the microdosing study. And I wouldn't even say
what strain have you been taking?
It depends. Either white mangda or the chocolate from Laughing Lion.
Yeah.
And I'll take the chocolate like at night and the white during the day. I had green mangda too, but I ran out of caps and I haven't been taking it. But I think I like the white better.
Okay.
But again, I've been trying not to take it every day. So I probably end up taking it 3 times a week, maybe.
Gotcha.
But I'm going to try not to take that unless, cause I've been having like some shoulder issues and hip issues, and like, I'll take it at night to sleep. I'm going to try not to take it during the day at least.
Yeah. Well, dude, that would be cool to see the results. What were you going to say though?
Shit. That reminds me to go back to the LSD trip.
Yeah.
I didn't take Phenibut ahead of time this time either.
No. Okay. Noticeable difference or?
Yeah, I had a lot more nervous energy. I kind of had like butterflies in my stomach the whole time, to where I didn't really have that when I took the Phenibut ahead of time. I took CBD and I gave it to my wife as well in the morning and then right before we dosed. So I think that helped with like the nervous come up, because there wasn't a nervous come up, and either that's the CBD or the splitting the dosage up. But maybe, so I guess I didn't go through the timeline. We took it like 2:30 or 3. I mean, I was texting people at 11:30 at night, like, dude, I'm still fucked up, But maybe like around like 7 or 8. We were watching the movie and like we were doing whippets, and I was like, man, every whippet's getting like more intense, but like my wife kept wanting to do them, and I'm like, okay, and I kept loading them up. We went through 48 fucking whippet chargers.
Jesus. Jesus.
Yeah. But anyway, it was getting pretty intense, and I was like, if I take Phenibut, it's not going to work for a couple hours or whatever. So I took gold mangda kratom, and oh man, it really goes perfect with LSD. Like I wouldn't take it before the peak.
Okay.
Especially because like sometimes, I get a little bit of a depressed come down from kratom, and I don't want to have that during a peak of an acid trip or coming out of a peak. So once you're in the, the landing zone, and still high, still tripping, but the worst of it's over. I think it works really, really good. And I think it would work with mushrooms as well.
Just a great body feeling.
Yeah, it really was a good end of the trip. Like it was almost the best part, honestly, you know, like it was just like, it really mellowed me out, but like felt really positive and uplifted. And
that's ideal, dude.
Yeah.
That's what you're looking for at that moment.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. There wasn't any of the weird, like chain smoking, fucking trying to figure out your life kind of shit. Like it was chill. And, so I definitely recommend Kratom to go with psychedelic experiences, but and
that just took you right to that took you right to when you were sleeping.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah. Well, and weed too. Like we were, you know, smoking weed, and we smoked weed before the peak. Where I didn't smoke until after the peak on my time by myself.
Oh, so that could have been part of the little anxious feelings.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Because we were kind of like, this is gonna be kind of mellow. It was like maybe an hour and a half after like we dosed, and I was like, but we had ate beforehand too, so I think it took a while for like the because we were just drinking the water, from the syringe, and I think it took a while for the water to get through like the food in our stomach, and so we were I was like, maybe we should take more, but it's too late now. I don't know, it might be kind of mellow, and then we like smoked a bowl, and then it was like. Blast off.
Here it is.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, back to the microdosing regimen.
Yeah.
I'm going to try to limit other substances during that time, just to kind of focus on the microdosing.
Take away the variables.
Yeah. And take it real serious. And, I hope to get my like routine and structure back during that time, and the microdosing window or the time that I'll be doing the study is going to lead right into my kids going back to school and getting back into structure. So I'm hoping, even if I can totally tell the placebo and not placebo and whatever, and I don't get the dosage right, I think just taking the structure of that and kind of adding it to the structure of my life will kind of help me just kind of get back into, the direction I was going before school let out.
Definitely, dude. I mean, that mixed in with, the things on your daily list being like working out or even just journaling or whatever, all those things are going to release positivity in your mind and body.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Do you have any, he asked if there's just any expectations. I don't know, what the results could be. If you think you'll be able to tell the difference between the two, if you think placebo, because I know one thing that really intrigued me about the last episode when we had the researcher on was his comments about placebo and how nobody's really studying placebo, but it's such a large percentage in, studies across the board.
Yeah.
Do you have any expectations on like not being able to tell if you took it or not, or?
Well, I think that just comes down to like hitting the right dosage, and that's what I want to see. Like, personally, I think if you're microdosing, you should be able to tell, but I also, I think personally you should take as needed to have a really good day, to where you're not fucked up, but like you're different, and not at a sub-perceptual level. I think that's what microdosing should be. I think, to take a sub-perceptual level, at that point, you're not microdosing. You're just taking nutritional cubensis mushrooms. So like there's probably benefits to it. There's probably neurogenesis and, some mood stuff that's going on, but that's not why I want to microdose, but since that's what they're studying with the study, that's what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah.
So I'd say my expectations are just personal expectations of getting back on a routine and discipline and using this study as a way to do that and throwing my data in the ring with everyone else. And I am looking forward to, I want to see what the questions and
the logs that you have to do.
Yeah. I want to see how the whole thing goes. I mean, it's just pretty cool to be a part of,
Yeah. What you mentioned before we started recording that they made a change to the.
Oh yeah.
Was that?
Yeah. So I had asked um, in the interview or whatever that if, because they talk on their website, and he was talking about that most people have done the study with LSD, but that if you're doing with mushrooms, when I take a mushroom microdose, no matter what the dose, I can tell because it's, you can taste the mushrooms, and you'll have like a mushroom burp, after the capsule dissolves. And the manual at the time that I downloaded it said to use flour, as the placebo for the weight. And I would tell the difference, and so they said they changed the manual to use chaga mushrooms, which is a beneficial medicinal mushroom, but it's not psychoactive. And so, that's the change they made to it for anyone using mushrooms for the microdosing. Is that you can replace it with a non-psychoactive medicinal mushroom.
Okay. Sweet. Yeah. So we got just one more question on the Discord. And it's just asking about, before summer started, we made an episode about seasonal depression and then went AWOL for a couple of weeks before we released anything else. So it's just somebody checking in, see how we're doing with the whole thing now that it's full summer mode. Is there a noticeable difference for you?
I'd say like overall base attitude is definitely much better. Mm-hmm. For me personally, my lifestyle sucks in the summer. My wife's job now, she has to work more in the summer than she used to. And then with me being home and the kids not having anything to do, I've just kind of went off the rails with no structure and discipline. And so like, that just sucks. Like, I just need to get back to that. And, it's been very frustrating for me trying to get a job and not getting a job, and then kind of arguing with myself whether I should get a job. But it's like kind of that situation where it's like, well, it'd be nice to at least be offered a job, even if I would turn it down. So, I wouldn't say I'm in a much better place than when we talked, in the winter. It's less up and down, but
definitely,
but definitely still some, disappointment with myself more than anything else, to where I think with like seasonal depression and winter depression, I'm like mad at the winter, I'm like, just fucking stop being cold, to where now I'm more like, just fucking stretch in the morning like you used to, or whatever, like it's just, I'm more disappointed with myself, and I could change that at any time if I had the motivation to, I guess. It's not better, but different, but a little better, maybe, I guess.
Yeah. I'd say for me, it's been better. Just the ability to go outside and enjoy it is so key. Like I went to the gym today, and the gym I work out at is a closet. So it's like, it's so small. Everything's so compact, and it's so hot. There's just 2 ceiling fans, not really great air conditioning. It's the city of Chicago gym, so it's nothing crazy. But just like being able to walk home comfortably was amazing. And you just soak in every step. And that to me is awesome. Like the other day, me and my girlfriend went to a local park where there's a hill overlooking the entire city of Chicago and like all the skyline, and having that experience and having that readily available to you makes the winters here tolerable.
Yeah.
Like it was so cool. There was this guy there that had probably 5, that might be a little bit exaggerated, maybe like a 2,000 yard kite string, and it was super windy, and he had these little kites that were probably 5 by 5 in a kite shape, and he had 35 of them on a string. Jeez. And would just let them go. And like that experience, being there in that moment, there's no way that, I mean, obviously that can't happen in the winter, but it's cool to even like tolerate a Chicago winter, to be around that many people, to have that experience happen while we were there, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, I'd say definitely, like, I don't have kids, so summer doesn't bother me in that fashion.
Yeah.
But I totally get where you're coming from, because I was that kid that pissed off the parents during the summer.
Yeah. I mean, and it's just, you know, it's lifestyle and frustration, but yeah, I mean, there's moments, you know, like I take the kids just to get them out of the house and we go mushroom hunting, you know, and we usually don't find anything, but, you know,
you're out there.
It's chanterelle season, and we found like a huge plot of chanterelles that, you know, like they wouldn't eat them, but they were like excited to find them. And, you know, I made dinner with them, and like, so there's moments where it's like, well, that can't happen in the winter, but, you know, just getting out and stuff like that. Like it totally, like there was one day I was like super, and it was that day that we found, the first day we found the chanterelles. I was super pissed at the kids. I was super upset with myself. And I was like, let's just fucking get out of the house. Let's go. We're going in the woods. You know, we got the dogs. We went, and like both of them didn't even really want to be there. And like, I didn't really even want to be there, but it was like, you know, free. And like, let's get the hell out of the house. And just like, yeah, came around this one turn, and I think my youngest was like, Daddy, look at that orange mushroom. And I'm like, what? Oh shit. I was like, that's one we can eat, boys, you know? And then, you know, my other son was like, there's more over here, you know? And then we just like found this huge patch of them. And it was like kind of, I don't know, man. I can't remember. Someone said on the Discord when I like posted pictures of it, you know, that they're like, it just goes to show you never know what's right around the corner, you know? And yeah, and like that was definitely, a moment this summer where I was like, I need to step aside from my frustration, because I never know what's around the corner, you know?
Yeah, man. No, same with my situation going on that hill.
Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, I think that's it on the Discord questions.
Yeah. Well, we should probably wrap it up. Oh yeah, we've been talking for an hour, 45 minutes, but
yeah,
it's good catching back up, and
much needed, man. And I mean, it's been a while, like, although that we're releasing every week, it's been a while since, I feel like it's been a while at least since we've recorded and kind of honed the craft.
Yeah. Yeah. But, we got a bunch of good guests coming up. And so, you know, I'm looking forward to that. And, yeah, until then, thanks for helping find the others. As always, thank you for listening to the Help Find the Others podcast. Please don't forget to check out our Discord server to connect with our growing community. The link to join can be found in the description. And if you feel like donating to our channel to help us grow, a link to our Patreon can also be found in the description, as well as some cryptocurrency wallet addresses. If you would like to be a guest on the podcast or have any questions about these topics, please email helpfindtheothers@protonmail.com. If you would like to leave a voicemail or a text message question for a future episode, Stan, what's that number again?
567-233-1335.
Okay, guys, thanks again. And until next time, let's help find the others.